Welcome everybody. Great to see you. Great, Juvie, also to have you on the call. Welcome to the authors group. Great to have you.
Thank you, Rob. Hello, everybody.
I know. I think you also introduce yourself as Juvie sometimes, don't you?
Yes, you can call me UV.
Okay.
Works perfectly. Yes.
It's shorter, but yeah, let's go for that. So again, great to have you. So 14th meeting of the OWASP AI Exchange Authors Group, July 25th. Thanks, Chris, for preparing the slides. Let's look at the agenda of today. Leadership update, some attention points, work items, any other business. Normally, we would have an AI safety and sourcing update by John. I'm looking at John. Do we have any news in that regard? Should I add it?
Just very quickly that
okay.
There has been some development. I have actually a call with them later today, and I will come back to you. The decision has been to focus at the moment on a subset of the original plan, and chemistry and biosecurity are safety topics come at the top, which don't affect us. But I will give you a more up-to-date report when I have the call.
Wow. So it is about AI, but they want to focus on some sectors?
The evaluation, well, no, the evaluation, I would say, kind of leave the text as it is. I'll kind of give more
right.
On risk, some of the aspects of risk, but primarily to join on the safety side of foundational models on the chemistry and biosecurity. The chemistry and biosecurity rather than pure security. But again, that's me reading an email. So I will go to the call tonight and I will give you a more detailed update.
Okay, interesting. All right. Normally we have a couple of updates by Arunish. He is on holiday. He's actually in a tent probably. He's doing a college tour with his middle one to find a good place to go to college. It's an exciting time for him. So no updates, I guess, from him unless he joins from his tent. That would surprise me, but you never know with Arunish. The priority topic again is requirements specification. I hope we can spend some time on the content of that in this meeting. Are there any other points that we need to add to the agenda? Does anybody want to bring something up? Something that you want to share that is not in this list, so it does not belong to a work item or a short any other business remark?
Rob, it's not necessarily an agenda point, but I just want to get some clarity. I'm doing a presentation on trustworthy AI in one of the conferences coming up in September.
Okay.
And I'm also part of a review panel for another conference which comes up in December. So I wanted to, mention AI Exchange. So how do I put it as part of my profile, like contributing to AI Exchange, or put a logo, or what is the appropriate thing to do if you want to promote?
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't think we have sort of a short package for this. Also, I don't think we need to be really strict about it, but there are some best practices that may help you. Let me prepare that for you. I think that Arunish has done something similar in the past.
Rob, sorry to interrupt, Rob. In our, at least in the Google Docs, I think it's now in the Git, we have that small section that talks about, like, it's a table. If you're talking about officially, or if you're talking about more personally, but I'm involved, it gives you a little guide of, you just kind of follow the table. It'll give you, Ravi will give you kind of an idea of what the content should look like, and how you can speak on behalf of, or just as a part of. And I think that's in there.
Yeah, you worked on this. What are the whereabouts of this material?
It was originally, it was in that Google Doc that Arunish was working on. It was I forgot his version of the doc was named. While we have the conversation, I can look for that and then put the link in. But it's more about, like, the marketing and communication side. and using social media, for example, as for me, just as a quick example, I am an unofficial member contributor, so I will say something on behalf of OWASP, saying, "Oh, hey, OWASP is doing this. I'm a contributing member." Great. So you don't want to speak on OWASP behalf, or if you do, if you're officially representing it. But I'll put the link in the chat.
Sure, John. That's exactly what I wanted to know. For example, if I introduce myself, can I say I'm contributing to this AI Exchange content as part of the OAPS? Is that okay to say? And then maybe put a link to AI Exchange.
Absolutely.
That is okay to say. I will, if it's not already in that Google Doc, I will add also which logo you can use, and maybe some extra instructions that I feel are missing that are helpful to you. But it's a good question.
Sure.
I have a related question, which I don't want to take off, but I think it's actually good to ask that. So what happens if someone uses AI Exchange as part of their practice? So for instance, I do workshops day in, day out on enabling cybersecurity functions, and I want to use AI Exchange. I'm using it as a hypothetical case. There are no, apart from referencing and crediting, there is no other compliance stuff, right, Rob?
No. Of course, we're going to sue them, but
but you know what I mean. So in terms of kind of just clarity for anyone who watches the video, this is when you present on behalf of the AI Exchange. But if you're using the material, there are no requirements other than obviously crediting us.
Yeah, and I mean, legally, there is no requirement for crediting us. That's more of an ethics, business ethics thing, right? And I have complete, trust in that. Okay. I don't see anybody taking the AI Exchange and building a training around it without mentioning the AI Exchange once. But that can happen, and if it happens, I mean, we create this partly a little bit for the fame, and we're getting it, but mostly for making systems more secure. And we also help with that goal if that happens. So it's good.
Good. So anyone who's watching this video and they want to use it commercially, they don't have to get in touch with us. Let us know, but they don't need any permissions or anything.
It is indeed helpful. Yeah. So no other points for on the agenda. Thanks for your question. Let's start with the updates. From the trenches of standardization, so we have two things. We have the requirement specification for which we assembled the team, and we're working on this in parallel. So that's this list of people here, Owen, until also Yuvi, who joined this effort. His expertise and of its team in evaluation is going to be very helpful, setting the bar for systems that are allowed in Europe and that are not. We still have many open questions there to work on. I also work on this in a parallel group with the Sensenelic JTC 21 work group 5 experts, and I will integrate contributions back and forth. But we need more progress on the content there in order to be able to have a draft in November and to have a standard that makes sense in April next year. Second is that we have the 27090, and this is actually maybe our biggest achievement thus far, and it happened last week, where we provided before a couple of months ago 78 pages of AI Exchange input put into the format of ISO comments and suggestions. So maybe a little bit of background. The 27090 is the global standard on AI security. It's been in development for a while. We provided comments in the past, and the committee draft was released, which means that in order to go to the next stage, the standard asks the world, which means all the other countries that are involved in ISO standardization, I think it's 32, for their input. And through the national bodies, all kinds of expert groups provide their input. And the 27090 has received hundreds and hundreds of input, but our input was by far, you know, the most material. And I didn't know what to expect at all. But to my great delight, I saw the responses to the comments, which is a gigantic Excel sheet, basically, being very positive and welcoming to this input. And I've been now with the first processing session with the 27090 working group, of which I'm also officially part, by the way, to go through the comments. And there were just some commas and details and nuances, some good points that were made regarding terminology, for example, that it was just details that needed to be changed to this material. And basically, it comes down to that they're accepting almost all of it, which is amazing. And our names are not going to be on the standards. That's not how these global standards work, but it's definitely our claim to fame, and we're gonna make that claim also. But first, let's see, you know, us go through these sessions with the working group to see what the final outcome is, and then we can also, make some noise about it. Very, very proud of this, and I congratulate you all with this success.
Primarily Europe, but well done. You know, that's great, and not just for the name and the kind of that you said, also validation that in terms of completeness, you know, it's kind of AI Exchange is far ahead than anything else in the space.
Cool, that's cool to hear. But it's also, I think, a matter of luck in the sense that the editor and the convener of this working group, you know, they're great. They're very knowledgeable. Also, the other experts had very good comments. I'm just really happy that they're open. It could have been the other way, but it went well. So that's something to celebrate. Other things, for those who maybe missed it, Arinish joined the leadership team. We talked about that 2 weeks ago. We also, indeed, big applause, we onboarded Ahmed, from who I met during the Lisbon training, also on this call. And I was very impressed with Ahmed's ability to quickly solve the difficult exercises that we have during the training. And he gladly accepted to join the group, and I'm very happy about that. Ravi joined the author channel long overdue because he was already participating in the sessions. So sorry, Rafi, for adding you that late to the authors channel. And of course, Juvie, as announced, from AI Shield and Etsy. Also nice to mention is that two seasoned fans of the AI Exchange, seasoned means that they're very senior experts in user experience and in security. They're working on ideas for a new website. And I think I announced a little bit of this in the Slack channel, but these are just guys with very great ideas and good insights into the different options. They know about Hugo, which is the platform that we use. They know how WordPress works. They know the advantages of Git. And I said to them that it's essential that we stay Git connected, so that it's continuous delivery when it comes to open source contributions. We want to hold on to that, but we want to have better information design and better looks, and maybe even also better searchability. Oh, and if it's possible, also the ability to create a gigantic PDF from all the content that we have, because some people prefer that. And they're looking into that. Well, actually not right now, they're on holiday, but when they're back, they're going to be a great addition to the team, is what I predict. So I'm very happy with that development. I put the periodic table of AI security on the exchange. I presented it, I think, 2 months ago, but didn't get to it, putting it in HTML. And it was a big drag to oh no, it's really Aronish joining from the tent. That's that's unexpected. Where did you get Wi-Fi?
No, actually, it's not really like a tent. We are in actually an Airbnb, but it's out there in the woods for sure. So internet can be a little choppy.
Right. Well, great to have you, man. Yeah, I was just in the middle of the leadership update, also reiterating you joining the leadership team, onboarding Ahmed, Ravi, and Juvie. Juvie's from AI Shield, and talking about, and that's very relevant for what we're working on, our niche, two guys who are looking at, alternatives or scenarios for us to improve the website and the information design. And talking about information design, I was just sharing that this periodic table that I created earlier, I now finally got the time to put it in HTML, which was terrible, but now we have something that looks nice and it's going viral. And I have almost 10,000 views on that LinkedIn post, and in the summer holidays, that's pretty amazing. People like it. I think it's, and that leads me to the question. I think it's one of the best ways, maybe the best way, to get an overview of our content with the security threats, and the connected controls, etc. I'd like, maybe you already have an idea, but I'd like you to think about how we can put it more central on the AI Exchange. Can we give it a more prominent place? Any ideas, maybe?
I think that's your kind of top 10, the equivalent. No one really likes reading stuff. So they have to. And I think making this as, a top, the equivalent, that's your navigational. I know we have the navigator, but this is kind of a nice way of putting it there. And I think maybe we can ask someone to think of a graphical, nice version of that allows people to navigate. And but it's the starting journey, really.
Like my HTML, John? Is that what you're saying?
I think it's good. I think it's a great, anything that brings a high level view that then people can go, because there's so much to absorb. I think if someone could make this I don't know how they will compete with the navigator though, Rob. I think this by far was kind of like better. I mean, I can't remember how the navigator, but this was kind of like, as you said, viral. So I'm curious what I thought the navigator was kind of easier to find what you wanted, but this
Yeah. We can go into that. I think it's important that we discuss this a little bit, because the navigator, who's right below here, of course, there's a larger version, but let's take this smaller one to talk about it. It also talks about the threats, but you need to connect a couple of dots in order to make sense of it. And if you're unfamiliar with it, you need to understand that, okay, so against evasion, I need to do these things. But because it is part of controls against threats through use, I also need to do these things. And because there are also general controls, I also need to do these things. So there's sort of a clever way of connecting things. But the problem is that you need to know these things in order to use it. And it was until we had the periodic table, the best way, I guess, to unlock all the content of the exchange. But now the periodic table also allows you to click on every control, which the navigator doesn't have, because I was too lazy to add all the hyperlinks there. But
so I think then my last comment on all this is that the periodic table becomes for everything. I have a kind of a prospectus that I go in and I start a conversation, and up to now I've been using the navigator. Now this becomes a prospectus, like, top 10 have the top 10, because this is our equivalent. This is anything we can do to make it look pretty. It looks very pretty. I'm not dissing your design.
I was kidding.
I'm just saying,
it looked even prettier. Yeah.
This becomes a prospectus, a navigational. It's, as I said, it's kind of, the high level compass. That's how the conversation starts with AI Exchange.
Any other ideas to make this nicer or more prominent or better?
Purely just a suggestion, again, and pardon the question. So I'm coming from the world of non-technical user, and I'm coming from a business world. I'm coming from the legal world. Me personally, it's nicer to have the visual navigation menu option first, and then by clicking, I would almost say, if you scroll down for just briefly to the graphic, I would almost say So I would almost say maybe it's for somebody again like myself or a business person that they're a product leader in their teams and they're working on various AI developments in-house or whatever, I would almost say make it a little bit more macro. So the green column is where you start as a navigator of without technical expertise, and then through that you can start to break down and navigate into more specific areas that you would want to get into. Because right now, for me, again, it's a lot of information. It's a lot of I have index on the left and then and some additional links on the right, and then I have this very nice graphical interface. But again, I'm not sure where I would be going if I'm coming more from the non-tech side, but I would like to make myself aware of what's going on. So it's just a thought as creating maybe a simplified kind of, I hate to use the expression, dumb it down version, and then you have in more for the advanced users like yourselves, you have the full deep dive option too. I'm not saying you create two sites. I'm maybe saying kind of like you have two variables about it, but just some ideas. Again, if your audience is purely technical, I think this is great. But if you're also looking to attract users through LinkedIn that are going to be jumping in and saying, okay, what is this about? Leading teams, need to get a little bit more aware of what's going on. They might be a little overwhelmed. But that's just personal.
Yeah, trying to not overwhelm people. That's one of our biggest challenges indeed. Thank you. I think we need to ask those UX guys that are working on our website to get their ideas. Renish.
Yeah, I think similar to what Dennis just mentioned, right? So I'm going to take it slightly off track for a second and bring back the conversation on the same line. So Ian and I finally got to actually meet last week. I think it was Thursday or Friday. The decision tree that we were talking about. So we kind of had like a similar thought process. The initial one needs to be very high level, where it appeals to various audience, right? Whether it's coming from a technical or a non-technical or a business or a legal, right? So initially you start like at a very, very high level itself and make it very generic. And when you have to drill down into a specific area, you kind of do that. And I think even to Dennis' point, like if you're proposing it on LinkedIn or some other medium itself, right? It's consumable. Well, at the same time, it's not very comprehensive, right? So I think where we are right now, we started on brainstorming, putting some visualization already on this. So maybe at the next meeting, or maybe the next to next meeting, we might have a specific thing to actually review with a wider group. But in the interim, we'll review it with you, John, and anybody else that's interested, and then we can actually open it to the whole group for review itself.
Okay.
But again, like this is more an update as well as like a comment on the current thread.
Cool. Nice that it's going on. We need to speed up a little bit. Still, John. Oh, you're mute or yeah, you're muted.
I'm muted now. I think something to add a little bit in this. I think there are two different things here that I really like what Dennis and I said. But I think we also need to remember that it's nice to have a good reference card there. So I think I really like what the periodic table has done, which condensed what I used to start conversations and take people in adding something navigational on top of that gives you those decision trees and navigability. But I wouldn't want to also kind of reduce this document that gives me at a glance what AI Exchange is all about. So something to think about.
Yeah, makes sense. Ravi.
Very quickly, yeah, Rob and team. The second column, the attack surface with the life cycle. So I would imagine putting a pictorial representation of the life cycle itself, just before coming into this table. For example, you start with the data preparation, training, model development, a few steps. John, Rob, you already have some visual, elsewhere on the Exchange. I think it will be a good idea to summarize this just before commencement of the table or any other visual representation that you want.
Interesting.
It's a clear idea of what the life cycle is.
Thank you. Julie?
I was looking at this more from the user perspective because I get this question more often. I have these controls, and if I see there are few things that are occurring more often than few of them, I try to visualize this like a histogram of the number of controls that are occurring more often. And I would ask myself, as somebody who's trying to put controls there, can I put 20% of my effort to cover 80% of my attacks? So, for example, the limited unwanted behavior occurs more than once in the chart. So that's one perspective. I would look at that if somebody wants to quickly implement something or go more preventive, that I say I want to put the controls that are first and then go into the assessment. So this is one view, one thought that I was thinking when I saw this in the morning today. Second thing is also, can I segregate this between giving it to a already working cybersecurity configurator, one set of them? Can I give another set of controls to a cybersecurity configurator who now knows AI? So yeah, these two were the perspectives that I was thinking, first thoughts.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, in the navigator, we distinguish between different colors of links, where some are for data scientists, other are for professionals. I think that's what you're referring to. Some categorization of controls may indeed be helpful, that we can take into account with the further information design. So good ideas, but we have this now. I think it's helpful for a group. At least I use it now as my main navigation in the Exchange to get to certain controls and threads. Back on track. What else? Some events. So Aranish and team have created several submissions for OWASP. So these should be submissions, and 5 of us are going there. How many submissions did we put out, Aranish?
We have actually, I don't have the number in front of me, but I think maybe close to like 6 submissions, 1 panel and 5 tracks. It could be more, but I do not have the actual number right in front of me right now.
I think it's quite an achievement. Well done. Also, they asked me if there could be a representation of the Exchange at the Robust Intelligence meeting. Aranish will represent us there, if I'm correct, if nothing is coming in between. Good. Also, AWS approached me after seeing my Lisbon talk, and I said, well, you want to do a keynote, but I have another keynote at the same day. You got to have Nicholas, because he's in Frankfurt, I think. I hope. And
yes, I'm in Frankfurt.
Exactly. And the best, so I didn't want to go for a remote keynote. I don't think that works. And this is a local sort of a German gathering for AWS. So it's about 100 people, I think. And I will, I received your email address, right? I will send it to AWS to reach out to you to do that keynote there. That will be a nice opportunity for you. I hope you welcome it, Nicholas, or is it inconvenient?
No, I'm really looking forward to it.
That's cool. That's cool. Also, Aranish is working on a submission, was working on a submission. I don't know if you've submitted it, Aranish, for that CSA event on prompt injection.
Yeah, I think it's kind of not formally submitted, but it's going through a review. Like it's going back and forth between Ken and I. And again, yeah, I'll have like more update on this in a week or so, whether it's.
I sort of guessed that the deadline had passed, but it's still possible to submit, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's sort of set in stone. That it's definitely going to have like a workshop. It's just the scope and what we're going to cover. It's kind of being discussed right now.
Okay. All right, looking forward to that update. Skipping this slide from the previous meeting. Attention points, use review mode. I saw a couple of good remarks by, I think, Valentino. I welcome you to use the suggest mode in Google and just change text the way you see fit, because we can always review the suggested changes. But try to avoid editing the text, because we have, with these large documents, no way to track what exactly happened unless you.
No worries. No worries.
Looking forward to your input. You had good ideas there. About work items, so there were some ad hoc changes. To quickly take you through them, I removed the table of meeting recordings and basically referred to YouTube. That's easier maintenance, so that way we are never behind. I clarified, and it was not easy, the difference between evasion of text and direct prompt injection. Right, you have evasion of text in Gen AI as well. I mean, if you ask Gen AI to judge a certain text for if it's offensive or not, you can, fool around and see to make a very offensive text appear or be interpreted as a non-offensive text. That's evasion. But prompt injection has a similar attack factor, so it required some language agility to explain that, but that was successful. The periodic table is there. Prompt linking, as one aspect of direct prompt injection was added. I moved prompt injection from section 4 to section 2. It was in the runtime application security section 4 because reasons. But it fits better into threats through use, which is why I had to do some open heart surgery on the exchange to move that around. I added the AI Wayfinder image. For those who are not familiar with that, let's have a quick look at what it looks like so you know what I'm talking about. How about responsible AI? So here it is. It's sort of a terminology map that explains what is fairness, what is transparency, what are all the aspects around AI, and what of those aspects is really security and what is privacy. And it's sort of explained already in the text that we had before. And this is so general coverage about responsible, trustworthy AI, and where, as a security professional, you can draw the line between what is your responsibility and what is a good thing to be aware of. And that way you can prevent going down some unnecessary rabbit holes. So that was added. Many small improvements. Ravi, I know you're reviewing. Any update on the review of the AI Exchange?
No, not really, Rob. First, I started with the step by step. Arunish and I have to sync up. We had a very quick chat last week. We hope to have a more concrete discussion in coming weeks when Arunish is back. So that's that item on reviewing.
Okay.
In the meantime, I have started looking at the requirements as well. So I think when Arunish is back, we should have a better update on this item.
Okay. So that will be something for next time, I guess. Maybe a good way to approach is to just go by everybody individually to allow you to provide an update if there is an update regarding the things that are on your plate. To start with Nicholas.
Sure. So me and Ahmed, we are reviewing the sections from evasion, especially this week we reviewed the input distortion and are in exchange and how to change, what to change. And I hope we will be done maybe end of this week, and so we get to the next sections and review and change the sections accordingly.
I'm very happy that you guys are teaming up on this and use each other's strength to work on this. These are important sections, right? So that's good to hear. Thanks. Susanna.
Okay, if I can unmute myself. A bunch of things going on. I've kind of put everything, sorry, sirens. I've kind of put everything a little bit lower priority to start working on the requirements. I've got, I want to say 50 something papers that I'm reviewing for that right now. I'd be happy to share my current bibliography in the Slack if anybody wants to see that, but that's what I'm working on right now. And I should have something written in the next few days, hopefully, to share with people. After that, I kind of put the gap analysis as a little bit lower priority. It's where it was last time. And I know I have some messages from people that I need to review about that. So sorry about that. I'll catch up with that. But everything is finished on that for the predictive AI, except for, and this is just from my basic notes, except for the classification, but I need to upload my notes for that. When that's done, I will go ahead and write a summary for it. And then I have a drawing that I've been working on. I'll put that in the Slack as well. But I will take a break from the requirements soon, hopefully, and get back to that. Sorry, were you about to say?
Super. It's a great idea to prioritize the requirements. You're really sinking your teeth in this one. How many papers are you reviewing?
I think 55 or 56 right now. There's actually a pretty good body of work. So if you want to understand, I may be over engineering this, but if you want to understand safety critical systems and specifications for systems like avionics, there's a little bit of history to go through, which I think helps contextualize the development of the design assurance levels. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I want to make sure that if we specify design assurance levels for AI systems, that those are as analogous as possible and as thorough as possible compared to the original design assurance levels from the DO178B and C. So I'm going back through that history a little bit, just digging in to make sure I really thoroughly understand that development so that I can create something that's analogous. And then there's also a pretty good body of literature on AI that's safety critical. So just want to make sure that there's a solid grounding in that knowledge as well, if that makes sense.
That's super impressive. Yeah, looking forward to first result. Feel free to iterate your intermediate status where you are with anything that's maybe in the next meeting or maybe on Slack, some of your preliminary results for us to have a look at and to maybe contribute or chime in.
Cool. Yeah, I'll have something to post hopefully within the next few days.
Cool stuff. Thank you. Alan, any updates from you? If you're not getting coffee or tea at this moment, or trying to find the unmute button, or both. All right, moving to Valentino.
Hi to everyone. Sorry. I was in holiday. Oh, I told you, Rob. So
Yes.
I'm still in holiday in Amsterdam in this moment. I think that for the next week, I'll try to arrange some meeting with maybe Ravi and Niklas that are working on the same part of the requirements. And I would like to know what they are doing and what are their idea about that and how they want to proceed, So I feel confident to start next week and trying to help you in some way.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah, and thanks for joining the session during your holiday. I know that you're about to leave to watch a soccer game.
Exactly. The Ajax match. So
yeah, take it easy. it's going to be interesting for sure. So have fun with that. I'm looking forward to your first results.
Thank you so much.
Ahmed, so like Nicholas said, you guys are collaborating. Any points from your side to add or questions? All right. In that case, we have done our round, but I suspect that Ahmed is focusing on that collaboration with Nicholas. I saw some of his results in the Google Doc already and asked him to elaborate a little bit more. Aranish, any updates from your side other than what we already discussed?
Yeah, Step by Step is going to kick off sometime next week. I'm going to actually bring in all the new people or existing people and try to actually pick up where we left off almost like a month and a half ago. So that's going to, we'll kick tires on this one. And also for the other decision tree, another track that's happening, that's going to also, that's already undergoing. And what else? I think we are on track with the promotion and marketing and few other stuff. And one extra thing that I'll probably present ideas about like collaboration and also like partnership and getting some sort of sponsorship from company. That's another track that I'm going to actually bring to life sometime soon. Because there are a lot of companies which are doing like very innovative work on the AI side. I think getting some partnership with them of some sorts is going to be important. And I spoke to one such company literally earlier this week. So that's the third track, and that's going to come to life very soon.
Yeah, and you are in contact with Scott, right? Who's doing similar work, so you can work with him on his best practices and learnings and vice versa.
Yes, we had a conversation almost a month ago on this one. Again, like Scott is very hard to actually catch most of the time. He's like super busy.
Yeah, indeed. I tried to organize something, but it didn't work out. Can't really remember what happened there, but I will try again. All right, thanks a lot. Then let's move to requirement specification. But before we do that, is there any other business? I know we did a round, but are there, apart from the work items, any things, impediments, concerns, issues, highlights that you want to share before we talk about the requirement specification?
Maybe one ask from me. Is there like a good starting place in the document where I can look for the evaluation to start off? So the assessments evaluation direction. So
yes, there is. Let's have a look what we have. We have this whiteboard document, and as you know, it has the Exchange copied, which is for many of us the preferred way to provide comments and suggestions. Now that we're talking about this, sometimes the OWASP AI GitHub is changed and the improvements are not fed back directly. Don't worry about that. I'll fix those things when I integrate. The evaluations have 3 locations. It is in the work that we're doing on the red team, which is a Slack channel to which I added you, and Banat is one of the people working on that. And they are identifying tool sets, libraries, programs to perform tests. Basically, those are collections of tests. Other than that, we need, in many of the sections, we need evaluation methods to be added. like for example, evasion robustness, we can do a lot more about that. But we have, for example, nothing on how to test for resilience against indirect prompt injection or direct prompt injection. The focus of that work is currently in the work that we're doing for the AI Act, which is the requirement specifications work. To get to that, I mean, that Google Doc is linked from the Slack channel for the requirements. It's also linked at the top of our whiteboard document right here. And it's this document that you must have seen. And the idea of this document is, I have a slide on that. In summary, the goal is to specify baseline security requirements for AI security. So part of that is describing controls that need to be in place. And part of that is describing tests that need to be performed. So that's the current sort of the urgent place for us to collect material for evaluations. And then we can sort of extend that into more, but that's where I would like to ask you to focus, because that's the most urgent part.
Perfect.
Doing there is actually specifying what is good enough for the AI Act, but also for the AI Exchange, because for Europe, it's about setting a bar on products and services, but also the reader of the AI Exchange wants to know, so what's the biggest bang for our buck when it comes to preventing some of these attacks? How do I look at residual risk? When have I added sufficient noise? How many models do I need to put in an ensemble of models? We're just like all the other work taking place in this space, specifying options, but now we need to specify a bar to which these options need to comply. That's the idea of requirement specifications. There are two things that I'd like to put to discussion. It's about data poisoning and it's about evasion. So regarding data poisoning, and that is this point is laid out in the Google document. How should we put requirements for protecting against data poisoning? It comes down to basically two things to make it really simple. There is the protection of the supply chain and the engineering environment against models or data being poisoned. So that's sort of conventional security and supply chain management on data and models on the one hand, and on the other hand, there are things that you can do post-training, like for example, fine pruning and adding noise to input in order to reduce the risks of data poisoning. The thing is that it's very hard to specify when protection of the development environment is enough. And I think in many cases, you need to apply a zero trust approach, where you say you need to assume that your data is poisoned. So you need to do more things. But if this is fine pruning, what are the parameters that you should apply? If this is adding noise to your input data or to your training data, for that matter, how much noise? When is it good enough? For that, it would be nice if there was a test. And I'm sure we can come up with a data poisoning test where we're putting in some trigger examples, some poison samples in the data set to see if it's effective or not. But in practice, when you need to evaluate a product that is coming on the European market, there's no way you can do that. You don't have the time, you don't have the money to do that type of assessment, which, I mean, yeah, it comes down to that there's no good way to set clear requirements on when the system is sufficiently resilient against data poisoning. And the terrible thing is that data poisoning is one of the biggest risks. So we need some magical solution here, and I hope that any of you, some of you, have some ideas on where to search for it.
Sure, at least that's a good starting point overall to look at the security requirements, and then in the process looking into data poisoning as well.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I have really dumb questions, to at least. First of all, has anybody ever like tried running large scale tests en masse, like simulating production, for different data poisoning scenarios? If that exists in the literature, I'm not aware of it. I would love if someone could point me to it. And then the other thing I was wondering is, you said it's prohibitively expensive for people to test by injecting poison samples in the data. So that sounds like something that would happen in red teaming. Are you saying that red teaming models is prohibitively expensive in product development in general in the EU, or am I misunderstanding?
Yeah, good questions and good points. I haven't seen work on data poison testing, but I haven't spent more than a couple of hours looking for it. It might be out there. So that's an interesting thing to look for. Regarding to the price of the test, vendors have bigger budgets than evaluators in this case. So I do think there is a case for red teaming. It's also a matter of perspective, because as a vendor, you look at your own supply chain and your development environment, and you make a risk assessment, and you sort of strike a certain balance, and you think, no, we've done enough. No, we believe that we've done enough. The problem is that an evaluator, you have to convince that you've done enough, and that's more difficult. So the test of an evaluator will scrutinize more. We'll need to scrutinize more, and we'll actually, have to test for putting triggers in and then see if they're effective. But there's no budget for it, which, yeah, that's sort of the problem. Maybe, so you made me think of maybe one solution, Susanna, and that is that requiring the vendor to have such tests in place, right? To have done such red teaming either themselves or externally, and let that those existing tests sort of qualify a certain set of requirements, and use that as a requirement. That could be an escape.
And if we certify the red teaming or the results of it, or whatever it needs to be, like, I don't know if it's a standard pen test situation or what the reports would look like, then that shifts a lot of the burden for reporting and being certified and so forth onto other vendors.
Yeah. Thanks for that idea. Thanks a lot. Dennis, I think I saw your hand.
Yeah, super quickly. I mean, just from prior experience, I would say the life science industry is a great resource to research how they do data poisoning testing. So I came from a life science industry where we pioneered AI drug discovery. Obviously, data poisoning was a major concern, and a lot of data was coming externally from various suppliers. I don't want to go into it too much now, so we're over time, but life science industry has been very open about how they do data poisoning testing in certain reports. It's kind of like you have to dig around. And I believe they're also kind of making it open standard and saying, hey, if you're a vendor of our molecular discovery, of our drug discovery, these are the things you need to show that you're doing to your data before we ingest it into our systems. And And actually, I think even certain organizations are open sourcing certain testing methodologies in order to ensure a better, faster drug discovery and improvement of molecular discovery. So just an industry to look into. I think they're being a little bit more proactive than, for example, like aviation or engineering, automotive, etc. That's
super interesting. Thank you guys for this feedback. We're past the hour, but this was some good feedback. Thank you very much for attending, for the great input. We'll see each other on Slack, and have a great one.
Bye. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks. Cheers. Ciao, ciao.